Welcome to the mystery, maybe you do not know. I am Maria. Wish you a good day. Ghost ships Mary Celeste and mysterious more than 100 years. Ghost ships are one of the mysteries still to be answered in the world. In it, the miraculous disappearance of the sailors on board the Mary Celeste has become one of the greatest mysteries of the maritime world. Mary Celeste was a merchant ship registered in England in 1861 under the name Amazon. 7 years later, it was transferred to the United States, and was renamed Mary Celeste. The ship continued to sail peacefully until the voyage from New York to Genoa in 1872. The ship's captain was then Benjamin Briggs, a fasting man and a devout Catholic. Captain Briggs is also described as a brave commander, one who will not leave his boat except in the case of samsara. Lieutenant Albert Richardson was seen as a collaborator, and was chosen by Captain Briggs himself. In addition, the wife of Captain Briggs, his daughter, and 6 other crew members boarded Mary Celeste. On November 4, 1872, 2 captains David Reed Morehouse and British ship captain Benjamin Briggs dined together in New York. They were old friends and stopped in New York before Morehouse set sail on the 15th, while Briggs went the next day with his wife and daughter, both headed for Europe. The crew disappeared without trace. Shortly after, December 5, Captain Morehouse was amazed to see Briggs's Mary Celeste sailing in the mid-Portuguese region of the Azores, seemingly out of control and moving indefinitely in the wind direction. Approaching the ship, they found that Mary Celeste had a slight spill but overall was in very good condition. The cargo of 1701 barrels of alcohol, food and soft drink for 6 months is still unmodified, with only 1 damaged barrel of alcohol. The whole belongings of the whole crew are in the same position. 1 pump is operated with 2 sails lifted. Most of the papers and navigational equipment on board have disappeared, with no sign of humanity. The navigational diaries, however, remained, with the last day penned on November 25, 1872, when the ship reached St. Mary's Island, about 700 miles from where it was found. The weird thing was that all of them suddenly disappeared despite the weather at the time, and the crew were very experienced seamen. Rich assumptions, imagination. The first person to assume the fate of the crew on board was Frederick Sully Flood, a lawyer in the British Navy court. Flood speculated that the entire crew had broken into the cargo bay, drunk the barrels and then killed Captain Briggs, his wife and daughter, and his deputy, Captain Richardson. Flood then rejected the theory and switched to living death with the view that alcohol was degraded and most likely the cause of death for those who unfortunately drink. Not stopping, he went on to make the assumption that Briggs and Morehouse, during a meeting in New York, conspired to deceive sailors on the Mary Celeste. As planned, Briggs was the one who killed his crew. Morehouse would then claim for rescue of the Celeste and divide the money with Briggs. However, both Briggs and Morehouse are known to be respectable people who have a good reputation, cannot be murderers. Even so, Flood has not abandoned his thinking. If Briggs did not do it, it would definitely be Morehouse. The Flood denounced the sailors of de Gracia who attacked the Mary Celeste for the benefit of being able to receive as a salver. After months of slandering against Morehouse, the Admiralty Court finally cleared all expenses for the Morehouse delegation. At that time, the world was very concerned about Flood's allegations, even in a New York Times article. U.S. Secretary of Treasury William Richard made his own judgment on this case and agreed with Flood's assumption that this was a rebellion. Then, in January 1884, Cornhill magazine published a short story titled J. Habakkuk Jeffson's Statement, by young physician Arthur Conan Doyle, who later wrote the famous detective novel Sherlock Holmes. A story builds from the incident of the Mary Celeste, in which the author found the papers of Abel Fosdick, a supposed passenger on board. According to Fosdick, the captain argued with his 2 sailors about the pace of the swim. And to prove themselves right, the 3 jumped into the water swimming without knowing how to prey on the shark. The rest of the people ran to see what was going on. Suddenly the bow of their ship broke, all the same fate with the captain. Fosdick was the only survivor who had caught a piece of wood and drifted to the coast of Africa. According to many experts, this is only a vague, unwarranted hypothesis when Fosdick's witness was dead and no one can verify. The next story came in the late 1920s when Lee Kay of the Chambers Journal wrote about another survivor, John Pemberton, about the details that had taken place on board. Pemberton's story was later published by the book Mary Celeste Hoax in 1929 and became the best-selling book in the entire Atlantic until Kay was accused of staging a hoax. Cheat this. Experts' speculation. All hypotheses were rejected, so what exactly happened to the entire sailor on board? At the turn of the century, some believed that Mary Celeste had been attacked by a giant squid or a sea monster. But let's say it was Kraken, the tentacle monster who sank the seagoing ship. Why did it take the papers on board? And why the ship was attacked but no one withdrew the sword on it? Ship out fighting, it stays in the shell? When they found a lot of redness on the ship, it was concluded that it was blood, but in fact they were simply rusty. Regarding the lifeboat, there is a consensus among those who study the issue, including the court, that the ship was abandoned. The clutter marks on the captain's bed, the crew's clothes scattered around, showed a rush in the rush. In addition, some ropes also disappeared, leading to the conclusion that the crew had left the canoe, using a rope to tie it behind the Celeste. On the reason for the move, there are three hypotheses to be advocated the most. Firstly, the food on board the vessel may have been contaminated, hallucinating and causing the crew to abandon the vessel. It was found that a substance in rye bread on board could create hallucinations. However, the crew from De Gracia also used the food on board the Celeste for over a week without any abnormalities. Therefore, the first hypothesis can be rejected. Second, the problem may lie in the number of goods on board. When the last barrel was opened, 9 empty vats apparently leaked on the trip. The captain said that the amount of vapors was limited to a small space that was easy to detonate. So the cabin was open to escape and while the crew evacuated the lifeboat, keeping a safe distance. Third, Dr. James H. Kimball's hypothesis, the Celeste encountered a tornado at sea, which often appeared and dissipated quickly. It does not cause any significant damage and is a reasonable explanation for the amount of water in the vessel found. But Briggs does not think so. He assumed that the ship was about to sink. In both cases 2 and 3, the Briggs crew and family quickly received orders to leave the ship. However, the North Atlantic region in winter is considered to be quite a dangerous place, so this action can be the cause of the unfortunate consequences. For centuries, many theories have been analyzed, dissected, but no satisfactory explanation. As a result of the ghost ship, the name Mary Celeste always stands in the first place and becomes the greatest mystery of all time in the maritime world. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to follow other videos. Goodbye and see you again.